Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. I've ordered a bunch of motherboards so we could do some more budget focused stuff on the channel because that's what you guys have been asking us to do. So we got a board from Gigabyte. It's the Gigabyte B660M Aorus Pro AX DDR4. This is the DDR4 version of the board. Obviously, it's right here in the name. But before we go on, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell and ring it and do all the notification stuff because we upload basically every single day. We've been a bit slow at the moment. It's one of those times of the year where it's a bit quieter. So yeah, get yourself subscribed to see more budget-focused builds that we're going to be doing very soon, as I mentioned. So let's get into it. Take a closer look at the B660M Aorus Pro AX. As usual with our motherboard content here on the channel, these videos are not reviews, they're just overviews so we can take a look at what's on the board, what comes in the box, and all that usual stuff with motherboards. So let's get it out of the box. All right, ladies and gents, let's unbox the B660M Aorus Pro AX DDR4. Now, there's not a lot in this box, so, you know, it's going to be a quick one. So let's get the motherboard out of the way so we can take a bit of a closer look at all the things that come with this board. First up, we've got the antenna for the built-in Wi-Fi 6. Yep, this board's got Wi-Fi, which is a nice little touch. You've also got some SATA or SATA cables for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives. There's also a bunch of screws for the two M.2 slots on this board. Can I just add, this is so wasteful with plastic. I don't know why manufacturers for boards keep doing this. Just put them in one bag for all the screws and standoffs. It's very harmful to the environment. There's also Gigabyte's warranty commitment card. Now, because this is a retail version of the board from Australia, this is the Australian version of this, but I'm sure it will be relevant to whatever region you get this board in. And last but not least is the user manual. Now, this is pretty standard stuff. It basically shows you what everything is on the board, where everything is, and how to get up and running with some basic configuration in the BIOS. But that being said, let's get the B660M Aorus Pro AX unsheathed so we can take a bit of a closer look at everything that makes this board tick. We've got the front panel audio header, there's a serial port header, a PWM fan header, a Q flash button for flashing the BIOS. There's two RGB ports, one's addressable, one's not. There's two USB 2.0 ports. There's another PWM fan header. There's a TPM header, which you don't need to use for Windows 11. It's got it built into the CPU. There's a clear CMOS button, a front panel connector for all your lights and all your switches, and behind that are a bunch of Thunderbolt ports if you're using an add-in card. There's also 4 SATA or SATA ports for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives, a USB 3.2 front panel port, a USB Type-C front panel header. There's another PWM fan connector behind the USB Type-C front panel connector, a 24-pin power connector to send juice to your board, and 2 more RGB headers. One is addressable and one is not. There's 2 more PWM fan headers. One is typically used for a CPU fan, the other is for an AIO or the optional CPU connector. And on the other side of the board, there's an 8-pin EPS power connector with a supplemental 4-pin EPS power connector as well. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, you can't even overclock with these boards. Why do they have them? Well, some CPUs consume more power, so it's better to have a bit of overhead, especially if you're building a 12900K system, which will still hit its boost clock, so will require some extra juice. There's 2 PCIe slots on this board. The one on the left with the silver shroud is a PCIe Gen 4x16 slot, and the one at the bottom, which is towards the right, the black slot, is a PCIe by 16 size by 4 slot, which is Gen 3. This board features Intel's B660 chipset, which is focused at gaming on the cheaper end and budget PCs that don't cost as much, which also limits some PCIe features as well. In terms of the VRM layout, this board features a 12+1+1 phase hybrid VRM layout with 60 amp power stages. And as you can see here, the heatsinks for the VRM cooling is very beefy, and that entire I/O cover is a heatsink, which is nice to see for a small board like this. But let's pop the socket open of that LGA 1700 socket if you've never seen it before, just so you can familiarize yourself with what's going on this board. And it does feature Intel's LGA 1700 socket, which supports 12th gen Intel CPUs and probably CPUs later down the line as well if Intel keeps the socket for a little while, which they're not notorious for doing, mind you. And if we flip the board over, you can see that there's not heaps going on back here, but I do this to give you guys an indication of what's back here. So there's no backplate, there's basically nothing to see. In terms of RAM support, this board is a DDR4 variant of the board. So it features 4 DDR4 RAM slots, which support up to a total of 128 gigs of DDR4 memory, which supports overclocking up to 5333 mega transfers. All right, let's pop the heatsink off the top M.2 slot. So you've got 2 M.2 slots on this board in total. Both are PCIe Gen 4 M.2 slots. So you're not losing anything here. One's connected to the CPU, the other is connected to the chipset. In terms of rear I/O, you've got some USB 2.0 ports. There's 4 in total. The antenna connectors for the built-in Wi-Fi 6. There's DisplayPort 1.2 and HDMI 2.1. Some USB 3.2 ports. Some USB Type-C. 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. A line-out jack, a microphone jack, and optical/SPDIF audio output. Alright ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this first look and overview of the Gigabyte B660M Aorus Pro AX DDR4. These boards are getting to be a bit of a mouthful with the DDR4, DDR5 stuff going on. Hopefully in the future we won't have that problem because there'll only be one version of the board. As I mentioned, we've planned to do a whole bunch of budget focused stuff, and by budget I mean budget in the start of 2022, where stuff can still be kind of expensive, but there are some good value things to be had. So we will be looking at all of that stuff. We've ordered some CPUs that I think they're arriving today. So we're gonna be doing some Ryzen and Intel based ones with the like 12100F or whatever it is, and the 12400 and 12400F, and some stuff with the 5600X and all of that stuff. It's all coming. All like cheaper stuff that you guys want to see in some more budget focused cases as well, but we're going to do it in the Gearseekers way and make them look blingin'. I'm going to show you guys how you can make your PCs look awesome as well as perform awesome without spending way too much money on aesthetics, because there are little ways you can do stuff that I'm going to show you because I've been doing this for a very, very long time. But in terms of this board right here, if you're interested in getting your hands on the B660M Aorus Pro AX DDR4, in Australia, they're going for around 319 Aussie dollars, and in the US, I think they're going for around $189 at the time of filming this video. As I mentioned as well, it is a very difficult time to find things at affordable prices like they used to be a few years ago, but I'm hoping that by the middle of the year, things will start to normalize and we'll be able to get our hands on stuff for a lot cheaper, and there'll be more of you here to watch the awesome stuff that we've got planned for you guys to watch on the channel, because it's been a bit quiet. It is a weird time for tech as well, because let's say October to the start of December is usually pretty packed with really cool releases. And then from that time in December till, I'm gonna say, end of February, even into March, it's gonna be relatively quiet for tech. So we're gonna do our best. We've got some more setup type of things coming as well. We've got some server upgrade stuff that we have to do. It's just, I've been holding out for as long as possible, but now it's crunch time. So I'm gonna take you guys along for the ride with us updating some of our storage servers. We've got a bunch of them for redundancy and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we've got a couple 100 terabytes of storage we need to provision. So we're gonna take you guys along for the ride with all that stuff. Anyways, guys, if you liked the video, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Make sure you get yourself subscribed to see more videos like this. And if you want to get early access to videos like this one, you can head on over to Floatplane. And if you like the music, hit the join button, or you can go to Floatplane or Patreon. You can pick one of the three. Yeah, 3. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peek, we seek, and I hope you guys are having an amazing time. It's a rainy day here in Sydney, which is nice because it's been so hot lately. Thanks for watching.